want you to do this to become despondent or to become depressed or to become unsettled, but I do want you to take a look at where you are, because I feel like a lot of times people say that they want to change their lives when they have not even taken the time to examine their lives. And what you are unwilling to examine, you will never be empowered to change. Write that down. What you are unwilling to examine, you will never be empowered to change. So if you really want to change your life, now is a great time to begin to examine your life and to really take a good hard look at what's working, what's not working, and what things need to be tweaked and adjusted so that you can get your life to the next level. If you are dissatisfied with your life, then the great thing is that you still have the opportunity to change the direction of your life. I feel like this is the point in the year where a lot of people start to really get down on themselves and to feel depressed and to feel frustrated and to feel like they failed. And the reality is that 6 months is still a lot of time. You have a lot of time to recalibrate your life, to change and to course correct, and to get moving in the right direction so that you can produce the outcomes that you want to see. And if you are satisfied with your results, the question becomes, how can you strengthen your strategy for greater results? So if you're happy, if you look at the last 6 months and you're happy with your life and what you've been able to produce, how can you strengthen your strategy to get even more done and to be even more effective in the days to come? I feel like these are the type of questions that we don't spend enough time with, that really have the potential to cause us to go to the next level, to 10x our productivity and results, and to really empower us to live the life that we want to live. Ultimately, no matter how much progress we make, there is always room for improvement. And so some of you will listen to me and be like, I'm good. I'm on track with where I said I would be. I'm doing all the things I said I would do. And that's wonderful. But even in that, there's still room for improvement. As you've heard me say, the last 6 months for me have been challenging, have been exciting, have been stretching, have been uncomfortable in so many ways, but it's also been a phenomenal time of growth and development and evolution in my life. And so, there are a lot of things that I've done really well, and there are some things that I need to make corrections about in the last half of this year to be even more productive. And I feel like a lot of people are not willing to admit that. Either they're like, oh, I'm good, I'm on track, but there's always something that we can improve upon and get better at to become a better version of ourselves. In fact, the most important plan that you should be working on for your life is an improvement plan. The most important plan that you should be developing for your life is an improvement plan. And let me just say this, if you don't have a plan in place for your improvement or your development on a continual basis, you've already set yourself up for failure. As somebody who trains and consults and advises leaders around the world, I am always amazed, and I say it in that context. I'm always amazed at these individuals that want to be high achievers and high performers and world changers and history shapers and planet shifters. And they want to do all of these great things. And when we begin to talk about their growth and development, the room gets silent. And I say, well, how are you going to have all of this impact and influence in the world and you're not developing on a consistent basis? Anybody that knows me, those who are closest to me, those who work around me will tell you that I'm a person that is relentlessly devoted to growth and development every single day of my life. It is vitally important to me. It is not optional. It is not something I can do occasionally. This is something I have to do intentionally, strategically, and daily in my life, because in order to lead others well, I have to prioritize my growth and development on a continual basis. And in order for you to become the greatest version of yourself and the greatest expression of who you were created to be, you got to keep growing and developing yourself on a consistent basis. What happens when a leader stops growing? You make room for others to outpace and outperform you. Write that down. What happens when a leader stops growing? You make room for others to outgrow and outpace you. And so, as a leader, I always have to stay ahead. I'm always ahead of the curve. I'm always years ahead in terms of strategy and tactic and implementation and vision. I'm a visionary leader. And so I'm always looking in well into the future of those that I mentor and lead and train. And as a leader, you may say, well, I'm not a visionary, Jamel. Well, we're all visionaries in some capacity. You may not be able to see the next 10 years, but you can see the next 10 months. You can see the next 12 weeks. You can see the next 24 months. You've got to be a person that is forward thinking and progressive if you're going to be a leader. Because if you're making all of your decisions in the heat of the moment, it lets me know that you're not prepared. And so I talk to a lot of leaders where everything is being done off the cuff and on the fly. And it lets me know that you haven't put very much thought into what you're doing. Great leaders don't just have a plan for the next 5 weeks or the next 5 months. Great leaders have plans for the next 5 years. And if you know anything about me, great leaders have plans for the next 10 to 20 years because you are thinking forward into the future. And if you need help with that, I would recommend to you my book, Next, The Emergence of the History Shapers, where I really go into visionary leadership, innovation, and disruption, how to give birth to those realities that are not yet born to time. I believe that book will really help you with that. But as a leader, you need to be forward thinking because at the end of the day, people are looking to you to lead. And if you don't know where you're going, how can you steer organizations or governments or nations into the future that they need to access as well? Let's keep going. I feel like it's important to talk about this because improvement is the room that nobody wants to visit, but everyone wants to reap the rewards of. We could end the show right there and be done for today. Improvement is the room nobody wants to visit, but everyone wants to reap the rewards of. Everybody wants to be world class. Everybody wants to be the best in the world at what they want to do, but nobody wants to develop. And I always tell people, how do you reach the highest dimensions of success without development? How do you reach the peak of your potential without preparation? And so I want all of us to create an improvement plan in our lives. And I want us to begin to make strategic investments in our improvement. So many people will tell me, oh, Jamel, I can't afford to do that. Well, you can't afford not to do that because if you're not investing in your improvement, you are investing in your failure. Let me say that again. If you're not investing in your improvement, you're investing in your failure. So either you're going to invest in your improvement or by default, you're going to invest in your failure. And you're going to look up and realize that you're lacking the tools and the resources and the knowledge and the wisdom that you need to operate in the next season of your life. Seasons are always changing, but there is a wisdom to every season in your life. And if you don't have the wisdom of that season, you're going to step into a season unprepared. And when we step into seasons unprepared, they become unfruitful cycles in our lives. And I can't stay there. Improvement is highly coveted, but few people want to commit to improve. Let me say it again. Improvement is highly coveted, but few people are willing to commit to improve. And so are you willing to make the commitments that are necessary to improve your life? Because we all talk a good talk. We all talk about what we want to do and what we want to accomplish and the impact we want to have in the world. But how many of us are willing to make the commitments that are going to produce the outcomes that we really want to see in our lives? As I'm sure you've heard me say, 2024 has brought a series of challenges, obstacles, and battles in my life. I'm sure all of us can attest to that. But once again, I have found myself having to address self-limiting beliefs and perceptions in my life. You know, what was so funny, and I was talking with someone about this the other day, is that every time you think you have addressed a self-limiting belief or perception in your life and you're like, you're good because I had to work through so many last year, I thought I was good. And then we came into 2024 and I had to work through all of these self limiting beliefs and perceptions again. It's like, well, wait a minute. Did